Hi everyone, my name is Monique.
And I'm Naveen from Before You Play.
And today we're going to be playing through a game that is currently on Gamefound called Capybattle.
Yes, this game is designed by Domenico Stellato as well as Francesco Ubbiali and published by Creative Jam, who are helping sponsor this playthrough. And in this game, we are taking on the roles of capybara rulers who are trying to control a kingdom.
Yes, along with our knights, we're going to be moving around the board in order to try to secure 5 in a row or column. And so this is an abstract strategy game for 2 players. And as per usual, we are going to start with a very quick teach of the rules and we'll go straight into our 2-player playthrough. If you'd like to jump around, we'll include timestamps in the description below.
Now, we do have to mention this is a prototype copy of the game, so things are subject to change in the future. If you are interested in the campaign, there's a link in the description, which you can check out at your leisure. And lastly, if you like these kind of videos and you want to see more in the future, please consider subscribing.
And with that, we are ready to begin. So if you'd please direct your attention to the center of the table, we're all set up here for a 2-player game of Capybattle. Welcome to the city.
That's it.
And so like we're mentioning, in this game, players play as separate capybara rulers. And so today I'm going to be the blue player with my ruler over here.
And by reasoning, that means I'm red.
Yes, and we've already pre-populated the board with 2 of our capybara knights. And so the board is comprised of a grid of several city squares. And so our goal is to try to complete a 5 in a row or 5 in a column of our own color of capybara knights and /or structures. And so over the course of the game, we'll be moving around our knights, we'll be activating them using our rulers, and we'll also be building structures. And whoever is able to complete a 5 in a row or column first wins the game. However, if we get to a point in the game where all 9 structures have been built, then each player will get 1 more turn, and then the game will end. And at that point, whoever has the most structures wins. Now during setup, each player places both of their knights on spaces along the city wall. And so that is why our knights are sort of around the edge here. Then, starting with the red player, on your turn, you're going to place your ruler onto one of your knights. And so if it's your first turn of the game, then you're going to place it just on either of your 2 knights. But from that point on your turn, you must move your ruler to a different knight. Then, after placing your ruler, you can then activate the 2 actions that are in the same column and row as your knight. And you can do them both in any order, and both are also optional. So it's up to you which ones you'd like to activate. And these actions are the meat of the game. This is how we are going to be able to get our pieces into position in order to win. And so the first type of action that we'll be taking is moving. Now there are 2 different types of actions that allow you to move. The darkened capybaras allow you to move your own pieces, whereas the white capybaras allow you to move an opponent's knight. Now you may notice that the different action tiles have different amounts of arrows, and those are basically the maximum amounts of movements that you can move the knight, but it is up to that number. And so as an example, if I were to activate this action tile, this allows me to move one of my own knights up to 3 spaces. And when moving your knights, they are always moved to adjacent empty squares. And so as an example, if I were to activate this tile, because I had my ruler here, I could move this knight 1, 2, 3 if I wanted to. Alternatively, I can always change direction if I wanted to, but I can never enter a square that contains a piece, whether it's my piece or an opponent's. In addition, one of the golden rules is that you can never move the knight that has your ruler on it. So while you're activating this knight, you can never leave its square.
And so we have 3 of those action types on the board, and then the whited out capybaras is when you move your opponents, and that works the exact same way.
Right, and that is movement. So moving on to the next type of action, this action over here with the arrow pointing downwards allows you to build a structure. So that is probably the next most important action type in the game. When building a structure, you're going to take the next available structure along this advancements track. So we're going to start on the leftmost island here that contains 2 structures. And the color of the structure right now doesn't matter because you're basically just going to take the structure, flip it to the color of your capybaras, and place it underneath one of your capybara knights. And you can build it underneath the one that has your ruler. The only rule is that each space can only contain 1 structure.
And just as a reminder, you're only activating the actions where your ruler is, not where the other one is.
That's right. Now, structures are very important for a couple of reasons. The first reason is it helps you win the game. And so as an example, right now, if I were to move this capybara, say up here, somehow, using an action, then right now, as it stands, I have 3 of these squares covered in this column. So I would just need to either have a piece or one of my own colored structures here, as well as on this space, in order to win.
Yeah, somehow you did this, and I did absolutely nothing in the game, you would win.
Yes. Now, with structures, two things are possible. The first thing is it is possible for your own structure to be occupied by an opponent. And if so, then this space counts towards both players' victory. So I would technically still win if it looked like this.
Correct.
In addition, if your knight is on an opponent's structure and you were to place your ruler there, then before taking your actions, you actually capture that structure, flipping it over to your own player color side. So these structures are not permanently tied to one player or the other. In addition, once the last structure on an island has been built, then each player, starting with the active player, gets to place out reinforcements. And so there was a second capybara here that we stole. And when placing out reinforcements, you're going to either place them in a space that's adjacent to one of your existing knights or on a space that has one of your own structures. And in placing out a reinforcement, you can win the game. But that's essentially it. Those are the main actions, movement and building structures. In addition to those, we have two other types of actions that we'll be taking. There is the secret passage action here, which basically allows you to move a capybara knight that is on one of your own structures, basically teleporting them to any empty square.
Kind of like a gopher, but a capybara gopher.
Right. And the other action is the messenger action. And this allows us to swap the positions of two action tiles. And so as you can see, there are only certain actions that allow you to move. And if you end up in squares, say for example, that does not have a movement, then your knights might be stuck. And so this is a good opportunity for you to put actions into position that you need to take or to move away actions from your opponent. And finally, the last type of action is the nap. And this is just no action.
It's a clunker.
You're resting. It doesn't help at all. So if you're swapping, you may want to swap that into position where your opponents are. But that's essentially it. Those are all of the different types of actions in the game. Now, again, we're going to continue taking turns like this until either one player has reached completed a row or column, in which case the game would immediately end, or until all 9 of these structures have been built. In that case, we would finish out the round so that each player has had another turn, basically. And at that point, whoever owns the most amount of structures on the board wins.
So that's essentially how you play Capybattle. Now, there's no other cleanup necessary. Again, the red player is the start player, so I'm going to be going first.
All right.
So then for my first turn, I'm going to place my ruler on this knight here.
Okay.
Thereby activating this piece as well as this one. So these are the two actions I'm going to be taking.
Okay.
The first one, I'm going to build a structure. I'm going to build it here.
Oh.
I'm going to put it right underneath, just like that.
Getting it started.
Getting it started. All right, and then the next action I'm going to take is swapping the location of 2 tiles.
Right.
So I'm going to go ahead and swap this Z tile with your building tile.
Oh, that's really nasty.
There you go.
That's terrible.
So you're unable to build on that one.
So now it's back to me, and I technically could swap those 2 action tiles back since both of my knights are along the column of that action tile. But if I were to build right now, it would allow us to both put out a reinforcement, and that would give Naveen more options on his turn. So I think I'm going to not do that, knowing that if I were not to build a structure right now, then he would be forced to activate this knight. So I'm going to go ahead and place my ruler on this knight over here, because it allows me to move my capybara knight up to 3 spaces
and it has to be,
do a swap.
But this has to be the one that is not with the ruler. So
Correct.
you have to move this one up to 3 spaces.
Yes. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move my capybara knight up to 3 spaces. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. So now I am in position of that build action. And then I'm going to swap the place of 2 action tiles. I think, knowing that you have to activate this one, I'm definitely going to make it sleepy. So I think I will just swap these 2.
That's great.
So that you can only move 1 space and not the 2 spaces that you wanted to move.
Yeah, so essentially, because this ruler is here, I have to, on my turn, move it to a different knight.
Correct.
So Monique is forcing me to do this.
Yeah.
Which stinks. So I'll go there. Meaning I have no action here. She put me in a dead space.
Nap.
I'm taking a nap. My first half of the day. Second half of the day is I'm going to be moving, but I cannot move this one.
Right.
I'm actually moving this one here.
1 space.
1 space. You know, I'm going to move myself 1 space.
Nice.
Just like that.
All right. So then it's back to me, and I also must activate my other knight here.
Okay.
But this allows me to build and move up to 3 spaces. So I'm going to start by building, and I think I will build this structure underneath this knight over here.
Okay.
And this will allow us to put out our reinforcements once I'm done with my turn. The second action allows me to move up to 3 spaces. So it must be this one. I'm going to move this over here.
Oh, yeah?
Because if I can activate this with my ruler, then I can capture the structure.
Oh, no, I see that.
And turn it into my color.
Okay.
So now that my turn is over, reinforcements arrive. So starting with me, because I was the active player, I must place this knight on either a structure that I own or a space that is adjacent to one of my knights, but it has to be empty.
Yeah.
So I think, I guess I'll just place this here.
Yeah, so you have 3 towards the 5.
Right.
That's the problem. And so for me, I'm going to want to put myself in a position where I can try to do some actions where I can move around. So I'm going to put myself right over here.
All right. Very good. So now it's back to you.
Okay, let's go ahead and now we're going to move my ruler onto this space here.
So now we have more options
We do
of
have-
where we can activate.
Correct. So I don't like the fact that you're on my structure. And so now I'm activating these 2. So I'm going to move my capybara 1, 2.
Okay.
Okay, and then I get 1 more capybara movement, and I really hate this Z situation that I'm in right now. But if I go here, I can build another structure. So let's just go ahead and do that.
All right. So then it's back to me, and we are going to capture our first structure. So I'm going to go ahead and assign my ruler to this knight. And because I am on a structure that does not belong to me,
It becomes
I
yours.
capture it because my ruler was assigned to it. All right. So now the 2 actions that I can activate are swapping of the action tiles and building a structure. I don't like the fact that you're on this.
Okay.
So I think I'm going to swap the 2 actions. So I'm going to swap these 2 because I'm basically taking the first action and then this one for my second since I never activated this one.
Correct,
So
yeah.
this allows me to move an opponent's knight up to 3 spaces.
Dirty. That's dirty.
Get off my lawn.
All right.
So let's see. Ideally, I would like to move it up here because this is a sleepy
zone,
space.
yeah.
And no matter what, he won't have access to a second action.
Gosh.
So I guess let's do it. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. All right. That's me. Back to you.
I was planning on setting myself up to undo what
Right.
you did, but now you've done this. Okay, where is my ruler? Ah, there you are. So I'm going to be able to either build or basically move you 1 space, huh?
Yes. What do you prefer? What is most important to you?
And if I do a move you, I cannot move this capybara because the
Correct.
ruler is on it.
Right.
I will move you 1 space.
Okay.
So I'm going to move you away from this build side over here because I
Okay.
don't like the fact that you can build builds basically back to back. Let's just move you. Oh gosh, this stinks. This kind of
is one
stinks.
space,
This
Naveen.
kind of stinks. I'm gonna move you
There?
here.
Okay. Interesting.
Unfortunately, yeah. And then this is Z'd out, so I'm not playing anything there.
All right, so then it is back to me, and this is actually not bad. I'm going to move my ruler to this knight. So this allows me to move one of mine up to 3 spaces, and then one of yours 1 space. So I'm going to move this capybara 1, 2... Do I want to move it further is the question. Yeah, I'll go 3. I'm going to move this capybara up 1.
Okay.
So all of your... Well... This sounds silly because that's 3 out of 5 that you need. But the positive side is now all 3 of them are in the same row,
Yeah.
as the
No,
napping.
I definitely see that.
So that's it. Now it's back to you.
All right, well, I'm trapped. Let's go ahead and just move. Man, you're just in positions to just kill me here. You're just gonna move into 3. I can't stop you. Oh no, you can't move this one.
I
though.
can't move that one.
No, you.
If I were to move this, I would vacate this spot.
You
so it's not that simple.
I like your position better than mine, though. So I was here. I'm going to
Yeah.
go ahead and place on top of this.
Okay.
And I'm going to build a structure. And let's just go ahead and build it onto this one. There
Okay.
we are.
Red side.
Red
All
side.
right. So you've got that. So now it's back to me, and I think this is it because I can activate this knight, swapping out 2 action tiles. So if I were to just swap out these 2,
Yep.
then I can move up to 3 spaces. So 1, 2, boom. 5 in
That was
a
lousy on the
column.
red team.
That was a quick
This is
game.
horrible. How did I do that?
So the game is over because I was able to secure 5 in the same column. Now, the game is very quick because, it is an abstract strategy game. It can play anywhere from like 10 minutes, as you can see, up to 30 minutes. So if you wanted to, you could play best out of 3. And all of the action tiles are randomly distributed. So they can be rearranged from game to game because, there is this action tile that allows you to swap the places of any two. So it really doesn't matter where they go.
Yeah, and don't be fooled by my play. You can be fairly strategic in this game. I just found myself in a position where I could not really move.
In our gameplay specifically, I think you had a turn where you moved me into a good position, and I think that was the fatal flaw.
I'm really bad at this game. So every time we play, I find myself making mistakes like that.
Yes, the more you play the game, especially a game like this, the better, players will get at it. So it does become longer and more strategic, especially as these strategies unfold, since the actions themselves are very simple, but it really just depends on how you get yourself into position and out of a tough spot.
Well, there you have it. That is Capybattle. This game is currently on Gamefound, so if you are interested in the campaign, there's a link in the description, which you can check out at your leisure. Thank you all so much for watching the video. We hope you enjoyed it. If you'd like to see more videos like this in the future, please consider subscribing.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.